Welcome back. I'm glad you could join me again. It's well, starting to cool off a little breezy, and whatever. You don't care about that stuff anyhow. But well, I'm a little tired right now. I'm not sure who got more exercise, me or that dang horse, but that's not what I want to talk about today anyhow. What I want to talk about today is you do not have to buy something just because it's for sale. Just because somebody's selling it, you don't have to buy it. And it's not something that, that what I want to talk about, it's not exclusive to horses either, but boy, horse people sure get wrapped up in this stuff like you wouldn't believe because, well, it comes to your horses because they're a living being. It's pretty easy to convince people to buy stuff because most of you actually really care about your horse and you want to take good care of it. So you want to buy all the best stuff for it and make sure it's being looked after proper. Well, nothing wrong with that, but unfortunately, people in the marketing business, they kind of take advantage of the good nature of people and convince them to buy an awful lot of stuff they really do not need. Keeping in mind that horses have been around for thousands and thousands of years before we invented any of these feeds or supplements that we have that we can buy for them now. And if you don't know that your horse actually needs any of it, not only are you potentially wasting your money, but you could actually be poisoning your horse because a lot of supplements and feeds have additional chemicals and minerals and whatnot in them that your horse might not need. And too much of, there's a lot of things out there that too much of are not good. And horse feeds and supplements are no exception to that. There's all kinds of ingredients in those things that, too much, not good. And there's a few of the feeds and supplements and stuff out there. I don't think they should have ever been allowed on the market in the first place, but there's absolutely no regulations when it comes to animal feeds and supplements. There's no regulations at all. They can make any claim they want and sell you something, and as long as they get their money, they don't really give a crap whether or not it's any good for your animal, whether it's your cat, your dog, your horse, your budgie. It just doesn't matter. There's no rules, and that's the scary part. And that's why I say, be very careful. Be very careful what you believe when it comes to feeds and supplements. Before you give your horse anything extra at all, get the blood test done on it and find out. It might cost you a few bucks to get the test done, but you'll find out what your horse does and does not need. And you could potentially be saving yourself hundreds and hundreds of dollars by not buying stuff your horse doesn't need. It also saves you a lot of work and storage space and all kinds of things by not having to give this stuff to your horse every day and have it available all the time. And yeah, well, that's just part of it too. And I can think of there was a couple of guys that hung out together that they fed their horses stuff that, oh man, they had feeds and supplements, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. I couldn't even imagine. And obviously they're buying more all the time. They have to keep replenishing their supplies. And I asked the one guy one time, I says, have you ever had a blood test done to confirm your horse actually needs that stuff? Well, they very indignantly told me they didn't need to because they know, because their friend was feeding their horse that stuff, so it's good enough. They know. Now, just because somebody else does it doesn't mean you should. That's one of the worst reasons that people do things. And there's a huge assortment of other items, whether it's various kinds of tack that is the latest and greatest solution to a problem, or training aids, and I mean, it comes to things like bits. Oh my goodness. A decent bit is easily up to $100, and there are literally thousands to choose from. And I'm sure there's more every year. At one time, there weren't any. What did we do before then? Didn't ride horses? No, we rode horses. And, well, actually, bits go back a very long ways, but they were very simple and very scarce, and there weren't a whole lot of varieties. It's just whatever the local blacksmith could whip up in his shop. There wasn't a whole catalog full of them guaranteed to solve your problems. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if you think a bit's going to solve your problems, sorry, that's a bit never, ever, ever solves a problem, because the bit isn't the problem. In fact, bits cause problems, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just telling you, you know, I did a video a while back. I said, don't be scared to be different, because I ride in a rope halter. I don't even use a bitless bridle. Why? Well, simple economics. Well, first off, I don't use a bit just because they're not needed. You don't need a bit. I don't care what anybody says. You know, some people do it because it's, you know, it's kinder to the horse, or all kinds of excuses. But for me, it's like, well, there's two main reasons I don't use a bit. One is I just don't need one. They're pointless. If you got proper training and communication with your horse, in the first place, you do not need a bit. And second is simple economics. By the time you buy a bit, a bridle, and a set of reins, you can easily be forking out $300. And then, of course, some people think they got to have a certain color, then they're special order and stuff, and I don't know what they're spending, but my lead and halter, well, those halters, rope halters are generally, you can buy them for about $15. That lead probably isn't more than 10 or 15. Combine the two of them, probably not more than 30 bucks. So simple economics right there. I'm not going to buy a dozen different gimmicks. I mean, people have multiple different kinds of reins, different bridles, different bits. You know, you start adding all that stuff up, you can throw away $1,000 in a hurry. That's ridiculous. And, you know, when it comes to the training aids, I mean, there's all different kinds of fancy lines for lunging. There's special bridles for lunging, and well, if you've been watching my videos, you already know what my opinion on lunging is. And again, it's all just a money grab. These are all these gimmicks that people come up with to supposedly solve a problem for you. And people go, oh yeah, I got that problem, I need to solve it. I'm going to go out and buy this item. Next thing you know, they've thrown away another 150 bucks or another $200 or whatever. You can get special cinches. Oh my goodness, the kinds of cinches that you can buy now. You know, I was actually looking at it. Just, you know, without getting into anything real strange, there's probably 4 or 5 different kinds, and each one of those has a couple variants. So, I mean, just in cinches, it's like, man, there's probably a dozen different cinches you could be using. I kind of know what I like and what works for me, and they aren't the most expensive ones. They're not the cheapest either, because when it comes to something like that, they're pretty important, and I won't buy the cheapest one. But I only got one. Oh, no, wait a minute, I got 2, because I got 2 saddles. Okay, I got 2 cinches. They're both, I bought them both brand new, and they're both fairly good quality, but that's all I got. And they're not fancy spancy flavor of the month type things or anything like that. You know, and then there's the people that think they got to have the bell boots, the shipping boots, the polo wraps. Oh, don't forget the protective helmet to put on your horse when it's in the trailer so it doesn't get hurt. Oh, whatever. All these gimmicks. You know, how did we do all this stuff before we had it? Now, just because somebody sells it doesn't mean you have to buy it. And if you've watched enough of my videos, you'll get you'll catch on to the theme as a, you know, I'm very, very big on, you know, if you don't need to, don't spend the money. If you don't need it, you don't have it. The only essential tools that you need for training a horse is a rope halter and a lead rope. That's it. Other than that, you can pretty much make up the rest for nothing, you know. And so, well, and you can ride in those too, so it's also dual purpose. So you can very easily save yourself hundreds and hundreds of dollars by not buying every gimmick that you need. And like I said, bits, thousands of them to choose from. Overwhelming just trying to decide what you need. Even halters, there's a lot of different kinds of halters. And at one time, there's even, well, actually there still is actually, there's a few different guys that promote certain types of halters specifically for training. They have special halters that, I'm not going to get into the different names and stuff, and I don't even know what they charge for some of them. They're ridiculous, and they're no better than a plain old $15 halter. If you know how to use it, You don't need all the gimmicks. Okay, so, never mind that stuff. Never mind the freaking gimmicks, man. Stop spending your money on that stuff. And don't think that your horse likes a particular color either. I don't know how many times I've heard people think, hey, my horse likes the purple reins and bridle I bought. No, your horse doesn't. Your horse doesn't give a crap. You like it. You bought it because you like it, or you were convinced through advertising that you needed that. The horse doesn't know what color it is once it's on its face. You can't even see the bridle, and they really don't give a rat's rip. And I ain't going to say what I want to say. Okay, they don't care. The horse doesn't care what color it is. Doesn't matter, not one little bitty bit. Horse doesn't care what color that junk is. So, don't worry about it. Never mind. Don't worry about buying special colors. Don't fall for gimmicks. And there's your saddle pads. Oh my goodness. Have you ever tried shopping for a saddle pad? Well, I have, but it's a little easier for me because I already know what I'm looking for. When I walk in a store, if I want one, I already know exactly what I want. And it's not the $400 pad. It's the $80 pad. Why? Because it's actually the best one, and it's not a gimmick. And, well, actually, there was a time we didn't put a darn thing under saddles, but I'll get into that just now. But, they got all kinds of air ride gel pads, contour pads, fancy this, that, the other friggin' thing. And honestly, the most expensive ones are actually not good. And the thicker they are does not make them better either. And I've even seen people multiple, both pads and blankets, and those blankets, they're not cheap either. Even just a plain old blanket, you think nothing to it. It can't be that expensive. Oh yeah, try buying one. Anyhow, so the moral of the story is very, very simple. Is out of all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands of items that you will find in the stores that you can buy for your equine, be it training aids, tack, feeds, supplements, all these things. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Just because it's for sale doesn't mean you need it. Just because somebody's selling it doesn't mean it's even any good for your horse. And it certainly doesn't mean that you need it personally. Decide before you buy something whether or not it is something that even fits into your life. It is an implement of some kind that you actually need, that's going to help you in your training or riding. And before you feed your horse anything, I don't care what it is, feeds or supplements, you better do some research and find out what is and is not good for the horse. And if it's the case of supplements and such, spend the money on a blood test, and find out if you even need the thing. Otherwise, you're just throwing your darn money away. And you might actually be buying something that the horse absolutely doesn't need. And in fact, if it was to get supplements, it might actually build up to a toxic level that's going to be bad for your horse. And then it's going to get a weak immune system, and then it'll get sick from something else, and you end up actually with half a dozen different problems because you thought you were curing one because somebody in their advertising said, you need it. Give us your money, we'll give you this product, and it is going to solve all your problems. And, don't believe all the wives' tales and myths and stuff like that you hear about different things. I don't know how many times I've heard stories about certain products and chemicals and that'll help a horse, and different bits and tie downs, draw reins, lunging aids, and all these things. Oh man, stop wasting your money. Go look on, I don't know, whatever you got in your area, for whether it's a Kijiji, Craigslist, or whatever. Actually, buying locally is probably the best. Somebody you can. And you can actually see the product, like a saddle. Go on one of these used sites, find somebody that's locally that's got one for sale, and try it on your horse. Simple as that. Put it on your horse and see if it works. And you might be able to get a decent fitting saddle that fits both the horse and your backside, for a few $100s. You don't have to go out and spend $5,000. Actually, you can spend more than that. I know for a fact you can spend up to $10,000 on a saddle, which I think is utterly ridiculous. I can't even imagine anybody paying that much for a horse. And anyhow, You could buy all your tack used. You know, especially if you're starting out and you don't even know what you want. Why go buy brand new stuff? You don't even know what you want. You might buy 3 or 4 saddles before you finally figure out what is and isn't good. And I know I'm speaking from experience there. I've gone through a few saddles, and I learned the hard way what does not work. And I also learned you definitely do not buy a new saddle for your first saddle. Actually, my first one was new. Fortunately, it was quite inexpensive. So when I found out that it wasn't what I needed, didn't break my heart that you know, we ended up parting with it. And then bought another one, then another one. Actually, I think I'm starting to figure out what a good saddle is. Hey, so don't feel bad if you don't know what you actually need. It takes a long time, and you know, honestly, you can end up with some pretty expensive lessons, and hopefully, with the help of some friends, you will not waste a lot of money, because that's what this is about. It's like, you know, you don't have to go broke having a horse. You know, you don't have to go broke buying a horse. You know, you don't have to, what your friends you have or what they use or what the advertisement says you should have or should use. You know, don't go buy any of that stuff. Go buy the bare minimum of what you actually need. What does the blood test say you need when it comes to supplements? When it comes to tack, what do you actually need? And you will find out that by limiting yourself to what you actually need and no more, you can save yourself hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And that's not an exaggeration. I mean, you go look at the price of stuff in the stores. I mean, you can easily spend $2,000-3,000 on a saddle. That's not hard to do. For the better name brand ones, you can get cheaper saddles for $500 to $1,000. But generally anything worth buying is going to cost you close to $1,000 new. So, I mean, there's a lot of money right there. However, you could probably buy that same saddle for about $300 used. So there you go. You just saved $700 just on your saddle. And that's not even a good one. You get a really fancy saddle, probably save a lot more. I know one of the ones that I own, if you look at how much I paid for it versus what it would cost to replace it with a new one now, by buying it used, I probably saved at least $1,500. It gives you an idea how much that saddle's probably worth. Anyhow, so just because somebody sells it, doesn't mean you have to buy it. Save yourself a whole lot of money, okay? And have a good day.